Hi, I'm Roxy, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review of Glaze, a tool that aims to protect artists from style mimicry by AI. So, if you're not familiar with the whole drama about AI versus artists, last month I released a video where I painted this. I time-lapsed it down to 30 minutes and bitched about AI for the length of the video. If I do say so myself, I think it's a very good video and worth watching before you watch this one, because then you'll understand why the need for this tool exists and a lot more that needs to be done. Style mimicry is only one facet of the AI problem, but to try and put it as succinctly as I can, one of the very saddest parts about generative art right now is that you can get it to mimic art from specific artists. And I'm not just talking about the long dead masters, I'm talking about currently living, breathing artists who've spent their life honing their skill and developing their unique styles. Artists like Loish, Alana Enami, Jacob Brzezalski, Greg Rutkowski. All these artists and many more have already had their life's artwork scraped without their permission, fed into databases like Leon 5B, and used to train the artificial intelligence behind generative art software like Midjourney. So the outcome of that is, instead of commissioning these artists to paint something, someone who's never picked up a paintbrush in their life can come along and tell AI what they want painted and in whose style they want it painted. They can then use that resulting art in their projects or sell it, and the original artists whose art was scraped to teach this AI how to do it, they get squat. Obviously, this is incredibly unethical, and hopefully, once certain class action lawsuits have run their course, maybe we'll get some legislation to make this type of thing illegal. Until then, we have Glaze. It's still in beta, version 3 at the moment. Basically, what it does is it adds a layer of distortion on top of your painting. The aim for it is for that distortion not to be obvious to the human eye, although I can see it, but it's a lot more of a problem for AI. It effectively obfuscates the style of art, so although the piece can be scraped, AI will see a different style rather than your style. Here's a graphic explanation on the Glaze site. So you have your original artwork, you feed it into Glaze. Glaze cloaks the artwork with the distortion. It inevitably gets scraped by these databases. They try to mimic your work, and the resulting style that it outputs in the generative art software looks nothing like your own style, because it's got this distortion on top which makes it look like some other style, usually something abstract. So I've previously tested out their first beta, and I saw the other day they released version 3. So we're going to be looking at that today together. So it's a very simple interface, which I appreciate. They do need to look at a few UI issues, like this overlap that's going on there, and it looks like these icons are cutting off. But basically, how it works is you select the image that you want to glaze, or images. You can do this in a batch. Here you define the intensity of the distortion. The higher the setting, the more obvious the distortion is going to be to the human eye. But obviously also it gives a stronger protection against AI. Next, you choose your render quality, and this is how long it will take to apply that distortion. The slower you make it, it will provide higher protection, but it doesn't visually change anything. Whether you put it on fast, medium, or slow, it still looks the same, at least in my experience, visually to the human eye. Obviously, for AI, it's worth putting it on the slower setting because it provides greater protection. Then you choose your output folder where you want the glazed files to be saved to, and then you can either preview it or you can run Glaze. Now, to preview, you can only do one image at a time. But if you just want to run the glaze, you can do this in a batch, like 10 images at a time, for example. Now, apparently, the glaze effect looks stronger on certain types of artwork. So I've selected a bunch of my own artwork to test with. I've tried to choose pieces that don't look too samey so we can get an idea of how the distortion looks on different types of art. So we'll start with this one first. I selected the image. It's loaded in here, and I'm going to just click preview. All right, here we go. You can see that distortion on top. Let me actually show you the original so you can see what I mean. Okay, so this is the original artwork, and this is the glazed version. It almost looks like they've got a Paul Klee or one of those kind of abstract artists overlaid in comparison to the original. Let's try at different strengths. So let's go with very low. Click preview again. Okay, so this is the least distortion we can have. It almost looks like you're looking at it through a heat distortion, or you've got floaters in your eyes. Not ideal. And let's go very high just for interest's sake. Oh, whoa, okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be using that setting. All right, let's try some different art. So next I'm going to do a batch run on this selection of art. So we're going to come over here to select, and just going to select all of them. Click open. Got 20 images there. I'm going to set it to very low, and just for the purposes of saving time, I'm going to set it to faster. But if I was doing this for real, I would probably choose the long option so I could have more protection against AI. I'm going to choose our output folder, and now I just need to hit run glaze. Now I'm not going to make you sit through this. In a moment I'll cut through to the end, like those baking videos where they pull out the finished cake seconds after putting it in the oven. But before I do that, I just want to point out the time it's going to take. So here we've got a tilde symbol and it says 20 minutes. So it's saying approximately 20 minutes per image, except on mine, now that I've actually loaded the images in and it started the process, it's saying approximately 3 minutes per image. So that's obviously because it depends on how powerful your machine is, how powerful your PC or Mac. Oh, does it even support Mac? Hang on a sec. Let's actually just check, click download. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it does support both Windows and Mac. So it depends on how powerful your PC is. I have a very nice PC. I'll put a link to the specs in the description if you're interested. But obviously, if you have a potato, maybe it'll take the full 20 minutes per image or upwards thereof. This is obviously just an average.
So, da-da-da-da!
Thanks, Paula. Okay, so we're back and you're seeing the results on screen now. I've made a side-by-side comparison. Some of them were surprising, like the black and white ink drawing, which you'll see in a bit. I couldn't even tell it had a distortion, while others were quite unsightly. To be honest, the visual distortion on most of them is off-putting for me, so it's not a tool that I would use in its current iteration, but then we have to remember it is just a beta version, so there's no telling where it's going to go. It's really in its infancy right now. There are a couple of obvious limitations besides the visible distortion. Your past work is not protected, for one. Even if you go and re-upload all your work with glazed versions, chances are it's already been scraped or previously shared to a website that you don't specifically control, like Pinterest, for example. So the past is out of our hands, unfortunately. Our only hope is that certain legal victories force an algorithmic disgorgement, which will mean a wipe of AI algorithms where they have to start retraining with opt-in databases instead of Lion 5B and others that illegally and unethically scraped images, which includes Adobe Firefly, by the way. I've seen some obvious marketing manipulation where they're talking about how Firefly is the first ethically done AI tool, but that's not really true. In reality, they've used work contributed to Adobe stock to train their model, and they won't allow any of the contributors to opt out. But back to Glaze, the second limitation is that your currently glazed work may not be protected in the future. As development on Glaze continues, we may also see unscrupulous AI devs developing a workaround to uncloak the images. In fact, their lack of ethics up until this point means they will most definitely at least try. So we don't know what the future holds. At this point, this is a promising, albeit experimental app. I think it could be useful for artists that are known for a specific style, because obviously those are the artists that will be targeted for their style. People like me, I'm often putting out wildly different work. So I don't think that there's a specific style attached to my name that AI could latch onto for learning purposes, and you may be in the same boat. But even if I did, I don't think I would want the distortion. But that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Either way, just want to say a big thank you to these stellar individuals working on the Glaze Project. Your hearts are in the right place, and I think I can safely speak for the whole art community and say that we appreciate what you're trying to do. Thank you. Also, thank you to my patrons, and thank you for watching. Much obliged if you leave a like and subscribe. Until the next one, God bless.